How goes the family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully you guys are continuously having a great day. The weekend's almost here. So, hey, hopefully you get a chance to enjoy yourself with your family and loved ones and all that good stuff. Just going to have a brief discussion tonight. If anybody wants to chime in, if you're watching, please give a like. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's always greatly appreciated. But, it's a topic that I don't think has been discussed enough or hasn't even been discussed within the last year. Excuse me, especially given the fact specifically that um, the homeless population, and especially in a lot of major cities like New York City, Washington D.C., Houston, Los Angeles specifically, they have homeless cities. Heck, even in Hawaii, they have homeless camps. And I remember being even in Seattle and Portland, a big homeless population. In a lot of other parts of the United States that I'm sure that it's very bad for a variety of reasons. But my concern is, and I even blogged about this a week or two ago, is that no matter what may happen politically, throw all that to the side, you have a higher chance of there being an increase in the homeless population if evictions are not stopped. If there's always in real estate, there's been a very, very big eviction prediction crisis that is supposed to ensue within 2021. Obviously, with the eviction ban moratorium, it's supposed to expire in January. So you don't, and obviously, no reasonable person wants to see that happen. Nobody wants to see crowds of people because hey, I've been to the major cities where I've seen the camps of homeless people, and it's never ever a pretty sight. No matter where from Texas to New York to California to Vegas, to Nevada to Arizona, it's never a pretty sight. And there's always a multitude of reasons why people are homeless. A lot of times, you have a lot of runaway children, adults that are escaping from their problems. You have mental issues. And that's why we say, like I said in another video, don't, COVID-19 might have slowed you down in life, but if it hasn't kicked you out in life, then you have a lot to be grateful for. And I say that because, when I hear a lot of people complain about a lot of minute stuff nowadays that doesn't have any real direct effect on their life, I'm like, stop whining. It's like there's a big sign that every real adult should have a sign in their bedroom and at their desks, whether they work for a company or for themselves, that says a no whining zone. Because, maybe life before COVID-19, you could get away with that. Even then, that used to really get on my nerves. But I think life now, to be honest with you, should be something that we should not take for granted. It's something that we should value even more so. So with that being said, it's like, hey, if you have a place to live, if you have a car, or if you have food in your mouth, you have clothes on your back, it's just time to put yourself back into the thankful category because, we are living in a time where you have the opportunities of you being homeless, losing your job, especially, are very, 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 very high. Okay. And a lot of people don't want to just be thankful that they have a job right now, or even thankful that they're getting unemployment. And even then, most people live paycheck to paycheck. So at one time, I know unemployment was doing very, very well, but now unemployment for a lot of people, it's, because I believe that boost has been taken away. It's not as much as it used to be. And as me and a lot of my, friends, colleagues, et cetera, associates, acquaintances, we talked about, this is the time for you to get your financial house in order. If you know what's good for you, for the most part, this is the time for you to save as much money as possible. If you got the stimulus check, was it a lot of money? Absolutely not. But it was a chance for you to save and invest, and it's like, and we all said it, like a lot of us, when we were at home, we, had more time to develop more skill sets instead of just search social media. Hey, when the shutdown first happened, within the first month, most people were like, oh my God, like we're over it. And so I understood people's mindset to just get back out there and like, hey, I want to go to the beach. I want to go to the pool. I want to do X, Y, and Z and whatnot. And, we unfortunately might have the opportunity of having another shutdown. Hopefully that's not the case. But, I'm starting to see a lot of states, appreciate that, brother, starting to see a lot of states, going back into phase 1 and phase 2, and we definitely don't need. We don't want, and I mean, any reasonable person does not want to see an increase of COVID-19 cases. Period. You know, we don't want to see a case of COVID-19 cases, but we will most likely see a case of possible chances of seeing an increase in homelessness if action's not taken, if people don't get out of the comfort zone, because, just because your job has been, for those whose jobs have been safe in 2020, it doesn't necessarily mean your job is going to be safe in 2021. Okay. That's really my point at the end of the day of this video. Okay. There's no such thing as job security. The only job security that one can have is that they have a multitude of different streams of income and they constantly stay on the grind, because a lot of people, there's two versions of retirement, I call it. There's the retirement of when you reach a certain age, you collect your Social Security, you draw from your pension plan or 401k or whatever you have, and then you go do whatever you're going to do with the rest of your life, whether you're going to continuously work at a part-time job, work a business on the side, or just stay at home and watch TV, whatever the case may be. Then there's a second kind of retirement, and I call that kind of retirement is the people that are actually still working in a job, and they just say, hey, I'm good at this job. I got my education. I got my credentials. I don't have to worry about working anywhere else ever again. And I think that's just a very unhealthy and not unhealthy, but a very unsafe mentality to have. There's nothing wrong with looking for other job opportunities. Nothing wrong with looking for other economic opportunities because, hey, you never know when your number might be up. That's my mindset. You just never know. All right. Now we can go from 2016 to 17 where the homelessness within the United States of America increased by 0.7%. The largest increases were among unaccompanied children and young adults, 14.3% increase. Individuals experiencing chronic homelessness, 12.2% increase, and people experiencing unsheltered homelessness, 9.4% increase. Now, and that's another thing to bring up, because I can say within the county that I grew up in, Prince William County, Virginia, a lot of because a lot more people, and this was the joke before, when the lockdown first happened, it was like, yeah, we're going to see how many couples are really strong in their marriage or their relationships because they're going to be spending a lot more time together. Because everything's locked down. So most people aren't able to go to work. Most people aren't able to, have any outlet, period. Even if you can go to work, it's like you don't have an outlet. You can't go anywhere because most stuff was closed by the time you get off of work, even when the gyms are closed. I remember talking to one gentleman when I went to the gym. He's like, this is my only outlet in life. And if this is closed down, I'm going to go freaking crazy with my wife. And I thought that was funny. But the unfortunate side, the downside to that is a lot of domestic violence cases have increased in a lot of parts of America because people are spending more time with each other. So, you can tell whether you're going to be comfortable with somebody long enough or not when you spend enough time with them. A lot of times being able to go to school and go to work and go to a movie or just anything that's away from your significant other leaves whatever stress it may leave. And then it helps certain couples, I'm not giving any relationship advice, but helps certain couples stay together somehow, some way. That's certain proven studies. Okay. But my point at the end of the day is, unfortunately, a lot of people will end up, specifically women, could end up being in a battered shelter or something to that effect because of those situations. And if domestic violence situations have increased and a person's living on unemployment or a person, their job isn't or business isn't financially stable enough for them to leave a relationship, a lot of times, unfortunately, that can happen and they end up going to live out, become homeless or go because, there's only a certain amount of shelters that are available. And then those are serious cases. So if domestic violence cases are rising, then you have a chance of even more times a gentleman end up in prison or female in prison, unfortunately. And then if the jails are overcrowded, then, it's just, or once the person gets out of jail, they might end up being homeless. That's another thing. People don't realize a lot of times people end up going to prison. They come back, a lot of times if there's not a halfway house available for them, they end up in prison. They end up living on the street and whatnot. So this is very serious at the end of the day. I'm not saying this to act like a know-it-all or anything of that nature. I'm just saying this is very serious. This is what is happening in small increments right now because of the eviction ban, But once the eviction ban is lifted, will this thing blow up in that way? Because they're like, hey, look, I'm in real estate. I invest in real estate properties. I wholesale real estate properties, but and everybody's like frothing at the mouth right now because they want January to get here for that reason. Especially a lot of business people. They don't care about the election and the inauguration in January. They're like, hey, when can we get access to more of these properties? That's a mindset of a lot of people. But what is the downside of that? A lot of families, a lot of people possibly being forced to live in the streets, and they knew, and that's why there was a mortgage the forbearance. That's why there was an eviction ban, because they knew if things would have stayed the way just regularly, I expect my rent on this day, I expect the mortgage on this day, then there would have been a foreclosure explosion across the country. And that's just not feasible. All right. So I get the forbearance programs, I get it all. I get the eviction bans, I get all that. And that's why a lot of real estate investors, even like myself, have not bought real estate rental investment properties, because it's just not feasible at this point to do so, because it's just not. But anyways, back to the story at hand. So that can happen. And then if there's more domestic violence situations, that it can make a lot of children want to run away. If they're like, hey, if my mom's not going to leave this man, I can't stand to be around this, I'm just going to leave. Or if the parent is being, very abusive to the child, and because if the parents spending more time, if you already had something to that effect happen, and it already increases even more so because the parents are around the child even more because they can't go to work, the child's not at school. These are things that are happening, and these are things that can increase. This is a downside of the stay-at-home economy. I've always talked about the good side. This is the downside. Okay, so this will make a lot of youth, especially once people get a certain age. I mean, if anybody saw the movie Dolomite, Eddie Murphy, Dolomite left home when he was a teenager. I think he was about 14 or 15 years old. And then when he was old enough, he joined the military because his stepfather used to beat on him all the time, and of course, his mom, this is back in Arkansas, his mom didn't leave the relationship. So he just knew he had to leave, and he was a teenager. If you watch the movie Fences with Denzel Washington, that was the same story of him, his character and whatnot. Frank, I believe. Yeah. He was down in Alabama and, grew up in Alabama on the farm and whatnot back in the 1930s and whatnot. And his dad beat the crap out of him, and so bad to the point where he, could barely see. And he ended up hitching a ride up to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania and whatnot, just to get away from his father. It was a runaway. And a lot of things were common like that back in the day, and a lot of things are very common like that today. People don't realize it. Only difference is now is in a digital age, it's hard to get away with stuff. Like a lot of times, especially back then, you had a lot of people who would lie and say, yeah, I'm this age, and they would join the military just so that they could have food and shelter, and they wanted to serve the country all at the same time. But nowadays you got to have documentation. That's just what it is, keeping it real. But and those are situations that can increase and have increased due to the stay-at-home economy. And this is something that can increase because you got to remember, there's still millions of people out of work right now, and that's no laughing matter. There's millions of people out of work right now, and there possibly could be millions more out of work in the new year. That's nothing to laugh about. I wouldn't, and that's the thing that, we have to understand. Is there a chance of, this year's holiday sales being the lowest ever because a lot of people just aren't that big on spending a lot of money on frivolous things right now? That's going to affect the economy. And then, with certain states, we've already seen Europe is shutting that back down again. Certain states are going back to phase 1. They were in phase 2 or phase 3 and whatnot. So if we see another influx of a shutdown economy within the new year, it's like I said, I'm not an economist, but I know when money's not, dollars make sense. And when money's not being spent, you already see a lot of airlines suffering. So when money's not being spent, I mean, outside of the necessity, yeah, people need gas, they need food, but when money's not being spent on a regular basis, no economy can exist. I mean, can survive or be stable. I'm not going to say the U.S. isn't going to be able to survive, but it's not going to be able to essentially be stable enough, to be to work for everybody. Let's put it like that. Okay. And that's the I'm not even gonna call it the fear factor. That's what's happening now. And the fact that if the homeless population increases, what comes with that? The unfortunate thing of crime. Crime increases. I mean, look, I love Los Angeles as much as anybody else, but this is why a lot of people are leaving LA because of the two things: homeless population increase due to COVID-19. They already had a homeless population issue to begin with, and then crime. Same thing in New York City: homeless, crime. I believe, in my personal opinion, like I said, I could be wrong because I don't know everything. But I believe that, with that being said, if the eviction ban is lifted and people aren't getting any sort of assistance, then I believe then the crime rate will go up around the country. And I believe most people, reasonable people that are in power, are doing the darndest to not let that happen. They're going to try to put some policy in place to ensure that it doesn't happen. Because if the crime rate goes up everywhere across the country, then it's not a good look for anybody. All right. So that's my prediction in regards to the homeless population going up if the eviction ban is lifted. If jobs aren't somewhat restored, there's good, it's like the poem I made. It's the best of times and it's the worst of times. That's what we're living in right now. I can't put it any other way. All right. It's the best of times because a lot of people have finally seen the light, that I seen the light. People have seen the light. They're like, okay, look, I can't just, what I've been saying for years and what other people have been saying for decades, don't just put everything into your job. Have backup plans, have multiple streams of income, because you never know. Nobody could have foreseen, this pandemic. Nobody could have foreseen 2007, and nobody can foresee what's going to happen in the future. So if you have the mindset of, I have to save and invest, I have to have some sort of an investor/business mindset, then I'll be all right. Like, it's fine what they teach in the public school system, but I got to go for mine when I leave that school system. You know what I mean? I have to somewhat reprogram, not deprogram, but somewhat reprogram and apply certain things, but then learn other things. And that's the beauty of being on the YouTube, being on the Facebook and any other social media platform, and being able to just read books in general, listen to audio books in general and whatnot, so that you can expand your mind. That's just where we're at with it. Sorry, hitting the computer, hitting the desk. I'm not that passionate, but yeah, it's just, that's where we're at right now. Because I tell you one thing, people who are blue collar workers are not hurting for jobs right now. People who are getting contracts with the city and the county and the state, the federal government, are not hurting for jobs right now. Okay. And that's, because those things have to remain open in order for our society to stay in existence and whatnot. And I definitely want to talk to a couple of friends of mine in regards to how they can, or how they should apply for specific county contracts and state contracts. Because I got a lot of friends who do landscaping, do all kinds of blue collar jobs, air conditioning repair, janitorial services and things of that nature. And I just had this thought to myself, because these are the kind of good jobs and businesses that can help prevent a lot of people from becoming homeless, because a lot of times a lot of former convicts end up being culinary artists. They'd be janitors, garbage people, movers. They end up becoming CDL drivers, and they've been killing it through this whole pandemic. I know a CDL driver that was able to buy he hauled enough material, getting so much money to the point where he was able to buy his own dream home down in the state of Mississippi, because that's where he loves being at, and it's dirt cheap to live down there. And this whole year he's able to do that. So he's like, hey man, I can just start working part-time, because all I got to worry about is property taxes and he said property taxes and insurance and maintenance and whatnot. And he's a handyman, so he can handle most of the maintenance issues when it comes to the house, except for the big jobs. So and he was basically able to help retire his wife by doing that, and she just works her side business. So that's another story for another day. But that's where I'm at with that, and I had my little epiphany. So if anybody who's in the trades business and you are in, especially if you live like in the capital city of a state, the beautiful thing of a capital city of any state that you live in, one thing, the federal government's going to be there, because they have to work in conjunction with the state government to ensure that they're doing everything. The FBI is going to be there, immigration, et cetera, and so forth. But then all the state government governmental organizations will be there, no matter how big or small they may be. All right. So then you got that aspect to it. Then you have the actual city government. So I'll use Richmond, Virginia, because I'm from Virginia and my dad's family's from Richmond, Virginia. So I'll use that as a great example. You have the state government of Richmond, you have the federal government of Richmond, you have the city government of Richmond, but you have a lot of big and small companies that actually get contracts with those specific, from whether it's IT, engineering, janitorial, vending machines, garbage removal, maintenance of the buildings, landscaping, the whole nine. Okay. Administrative services, the whole nine. But those are a lot of contracts that people, if you own your own company, you can actually, put in a bid, and you don't have to take it from me. Go onto the website of these cities and states, and they all have a process and whatnot. Same thing goes with the federal government, but that opens the door of opportunities for a lot of people. This is why a lot of times people will live in the capital city of a state, because not only do they have access to getting those specific jobs that I just mentioned, but they have access to be able to obtain contracts with those specific organizations and whatnot. So I think it's a good idea. And the moral of the story is it's just time for us to start thinking more and more out of the box. I'm really just going to put it on, we've done a good job of getting a good job. Now it's time to do a good job at supporting each other. It's time to do a good job at creating opportunities, not only for ourselves, but others and whatnot within our circle. Okay. So that's why I want to engage with people in my circle. I'm like, hey, I see like my brother Terrence Alexander. He has his own cleaning business / carpet cleaning business. He's certified for cleaning places to ensure that they're COVID-19 free or whatnot. I see his business growing tremendously. I just think if he takes it in other directions that I'm not going to talk about online, I want to have his face to face with him about that. I think that he can get access to more clients and whatnot in order for him to change his life and the trajectory of where his businesses are going. But this is the mindset that we're all on. It's about helping each other. It's not me telling him I'm better than him, not him telling me he's better than me. It's just about us looking out for each other. Because that's what real adults do. That's what real men do. We don't hate on each other. We look out for each other. All right. But I hope that I'm wrong in regards to the increase of the homeless population within the United States in 2021. God forbid, that's the last thing I want to see. But it's a possibility that it may happen if action is not taking place. So I hope action is taking place so that doesn't happen, because I don't want to see anybody lose their house. Like, I don't want to see another 2007. That was, for real estate investors, that was a smorgasbord. Trust me on that one. But I remember seeing those foreclosed signs just fly all over the place. I remember seeing moving trucks in and out, in and out, in and out. And there's been a real influx ever since then, within the last decade, of people relocating to various parts of the country, primarily the South, because they either wanted to change or they just can't afford to live on the East Coast and West Coast anymore. So that's something for the people in those areas that have the power to look at, because if nobody wants to, if nobody wants to live in your state, but if nobody can afford to live in your state, that's just not a good reputation to have. I can't put it any other way. And the new economy that we're in now is going to require, when I did the word of the day, it's going to require less spending. So it's all about, where can I get more bang for my buck? It's about shopping. It's the economic and beautiful capitalistic way. So, hey, I either, because to me, like, moving to a state is like going to a store. It's like, hey, what am I getting the best bang for my buck? If I'm going here or if I'm going there? That's what it really boils down to. And not only that, how's the homeless population? How's the crime? How's it dealt with and whatnot? Are there more opportunities given for people that might not, have a college degree, that might want a skilled trade or might want to become a real estate agent or an insurance agent or something to that effect? There's a lot of opportunity out here, even in today's world, even if people don't believe it. You just have to go. There's one of my favorite YouTubers / professors / businessmen, Dr. Royce Watkins, stated his one of his family members said that doesn't have a college degree, doesn't have a PhD like Dr. Royce Watkins says, but he makes just as much money as he does. He said, man, if you look outside and you truly do your research, there's money to be made all over the place, with COVID or without COVID. You just have to look. All right. So do me a great 3 free things, family. Like, share, and subscribe. Definitely planning to try to do an interview with another gentleman within the next week or so. So hopefully you guys tune in for that. But thank you for all your support. Tremendous. Alan, thank you for your comment, brother, and your like. I greatly appreciate that. Hopefully you subscribe to my YouTube channel. But on that note, family, make money moves like you got nothing to lose, all right? Or live broke like a fool. Take care.